Hello, friends and strangers on the internet. Welcome back to my channel. Hello and welcome back. Today we're back with another Patreon request. I will catch up on those Patreon requests. I promise. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I will catch up. And thank you everybody for your patience and your kind words so far. I appreciate that. Who are we checking out today? Today we are checking out a group called Alsarah and the Nubatones, led by the wonderful Alsarah. I have not heard her music, but I have read so many accolades about her. She's a Sudanese and American, I think. I think I remember reading Sudanese American singer, songwriter, and ethnomusicologist, which is so super cool. Very, very cool. I have read that she's a little reluctant on that third title, but she still is. And we are checking out her group Alsarah and the Nubatones, and we're checking out a live performance of their song Manara for the Sofar New York. Yeah, Sofar New York, a live performance for them. So super exciting. The song again is called Manara. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Before we jump into my reaction, I'd like to give a big, big thank you to all of my viewers and supporters. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for supporting. Thanks for hanging out with me. That's probably the most important thing to me. You're spending time with me, and we're checking out amazing music together. And I just find that to be just so beautiful. That's so awesome. Like, just big group of people hanging out, checking out music and talking about it. I love it. And thank you so much for being a part of it. I appreciate it so much. Let's jump into this. Okie dokie artichoke. Once again, we will be checking out Alsarah and the Nubatones live for Sofar New York, and the song is called Manara. If you would like to check out Alsarah directly, that will be the second link in my description. This one is coming to us from the Sofar Sounds channel. Shout out to them for not only uploading this, but providing the live performance we're about to watch. I believe that Alsarah and the Nubatones also have a topic channel here on youtube.com. That is a channel where it is audio only. It's been automatically uploaded from their music, what is it, their like record label. So if you want to go check out their audio music, they do have a topic channel here on YouTube. And once again, Alsarah's official channel is the second link in my description. All right. Ooh, it's gonna be 11 minutes and 11 seconds. That seems lucky. Let's check this out.
For me, Amnesty International and I, we've had a long history. It started out when we first moved to the States from Sudan, actually from Yemen, because a war had broken out there briefly, so we left. We ended up here by sheer accident, you know? And people people talk about this refugees, which I don't really particularly like the word. I like to think of refugees as people in transit, because being a refugee is a very temporary state of being, and it ends as soon as you have a home.
That's a good way to look at that.
That is something that you can struggle your whole life to understand what it means for you, and it could be as simple as a place to live. So while everyone says we have a refugee crisis, I don't think we have a refugee crisis. I think we have a border crisis. I think we have an environmental crisis. I think we have a colonial crisis. I think we have a lot of issues that we never really dealt with that we thought we did, that don't make any sense. People traveling to seek a better life is as old as time. It's as old as humanity. Borders that keep you from searching for a better life is a very modern invention. And that is why I always say it's a temporary problem. It could be resolved as soon as one has a home. So what does it mean to have a home? What does that really mean, right? Is it just a house with 4 walls? Is it one particular place? What does it mean to pick up all your roots and drop them down somewhere else? You know, do you lay them down permanently elsewhere? Do they stay looking the same? Do you need to change in order to adjust to where you are? Does where you are need to change to adjust to who you are? You know, a great writer once said, Octavia Butler, she once said that everything you touch, you change. And everything you change, changes you. And so it's a two-way street, giving and taking. It's never one or the other. And so, as a former refugee and a die-hard immigrant for life, Brooklyn, Sudan, all of it, I can tell you in all honesty, most people are immigrants. And in the next 20 years, the way we treat this universe and this environment, a lot more of us will become refugees. This will be the norm. We are the norm. And so, let's figure out how to deal with it. What does it mean to have a home? For me, having a home is a place where you are witnessed, where you are held, where you are remembered. And that can happen amongst friends. It can happen in a place. It can happen with your family, whether they be biological or chosen. But home is a state of being. It's a state of mind, like happiness. And you can only achieve that state of mind when you're no longer afraid. And you can only achieve that state of mind when you've had a place to rest your head. And so it all starts with a home. So this next song for me is about that whole subject. I come from Khartoum, and my story moved to Yemen and to Brooklyn, where I feel very much at home. And for me, I've always known that as my story comes and goes, I always go back to Khartoum not because Khartoum is the city, but because Khartoum is the city of the longest kiss in history, the place where the Blue Nile and the White Nile meet to run eternally unified, where a drop of water will remember me as it runs up through the Nile into the Mediterranean Sea and reaches me at Brighton Beach. I know it remembers me when I poured my secrets on those banks. I know every wave remembers, because that's the oldest road, the sea, our first highway, if you will. So this song is dedicated to my highway. It's dedicated to the Nile. And it's also a song for everyone that's known that there's a lighthouse at the end of every journey, through every tumultuous sea. This song is called Manara, for those that have always known that history is written by those who win. And even though you may not be remembered, there's a drop of water that remembers you. Manara.
That was a very beautiful speech. And she is right. History is written by those who win. But a much quieter history is written by those who don't. And you just have to seek out the sources and read them for yourself. You know, just saying, there is history there that has been documented that wasn't written by the victors, so to speak. People write journals, people keep documents, and they may not be the victors of a battle or a war, but their sources, their documents, their journals, all of that's still out there, and people are finding it and reading it and learning that there is a history that existed from a different perspective than the victors of the wars. And I guess while reflecting on everything she said, I want to encourage you all who are interested in history to go seek out those sources and read those different perspectives from those who weren't the victors of wars, and see how that might change your perspective on history, because those who don't learn from history are most doomed to repeat it. Yes, that was a very beautiful speech she gave. I'm going to keep that in my reaction. Let's give her a chance to do the whole song now. Let's go.
There's a drop of water that remembers you. Manara.
That was a great place to unpause it. Nice.
With Verizon,
Hey!
when you bundle.
So that was really annoying, that ad that just played. I'm going to take it back a little bit because that completely ruined the vibe. Let's go back to this very musical wind sound we were listening to. Doesn't her voice sound like the wind? It's beautiful.
مسح الباقي بدون نعرف حتى الوجود يدوم سرابك جزار حضن حبايبك غدار دنيا سرابك جزار حضن حبايبك
I'm just imagining what it has to be like sitting in that room and closing my eyes and just letting the vibration of the drums and the trumpet and that whatever that beautiful stringed instrument is. It looks a little bit like a lute, but I'm not sure. Just and then the sound of the two singing voices. I think I heard the man in the background playing the drums. I think I might have heard him singing as well. I think I heard a lower tone. It's just so beautiful. I'm just imagining what it must be like to be in that room, to be able to close my eyes. They're all sitting on the floor, lean back, and just listen to that and just get lost in it. Obviously, I can't do that right now. I'm doing a reaction, and it would be very boring for y'all to watch me close my eyes and just meditate to the sound of music. So I can't do that. But I look forward to doing that shortly after my recordings today because I would love to just listen to the song with my eyes closed and just let it wash over me. It just feels very enchanting. Let's keep listening. Yeah, he is singing back there. That drum sound is so beautiful. That was gorgeous. Ah, that was really gorgeous. All of their voices were so beautiful together. The trumpet had this perfect level of muted. The drums, that kick drum especially, I'm not sure if that was like actually a kick drum. It looked like he had a pedal with it. So like that kick drum, that bass drum was so gorgeous. Uh, I want to see if I can find a translation of the lyrics. I know she explained what the song is about, and it was beautiful on its own without knowing what the English translation is. And I'm pretty sure even with an English translation, it won't have the same nuance as from the native language she wrote it in. But I still want to see if I can find an English translation of the lyrics real quick so that I can read over it before giving my final thoughts about the song. But the performance was just beautiful. It felt very intimate. It felt very special. I felt it felt like as Lara was being very vulnerable about her feelings, being an immigrant or a refugee. Um, I just think that's really beautiful, and I love the perspective she gave on that. I mentioned some thoughts on that earlier, but I really love the perspective she gave on that. As someone who's never had to experience that, I have a very limited perspective of what it feels like to go through that, and she is actually living through it, and it's really fascinating to see how she thinks about these things, and that's really lovely. Yes, I'm gonna go look for some lyrics, see if I can find an English translation, and then I'll be back with my final thoughts. Be right back. Ah, well, disappointing as it may be, I was not able to find the lyrics in English or even in the language it was in. I don't know what the Sudanese language is, and I'm assuming that's the language that she used. I'm not exactly a very cultured person. Feel free to let me know what language that was. But I wasn't able to find them in the native language so that I could attempt to have Google translate it for me. Couldn't even find that. Is this a fairly new song that was recently released? Is it possible that it just was never 7 years ago? It's definitely not a new song. Just real quick, I'm gonna check the description. No, there's no lyrics there. Okay, well that's a tiny bit of a bummer, but I'm glad she took the time to explain it to us. It was a very beautiful song. It felt like she was able to mix in uh, traditional sounds with more modern sound, and I love when artists can do that. I just think that's so wonderful. That was just a really beautiful performance. I'm really looking forward to checking out more from this artist as Lara and her group, the Nubatones. Is it like because they're Nubian and they have tones that have a Nubian flair to them? I think that's really lovely. Yes, I think I've rambled on quite enough. I wish I had more final thoughts to give about the song and the performance, but I'm glad she took the time to explain it because I cannot find an English translation or even a non English version of the lyrics. So if anyone happens to know, I would appreciate it. If you just happen to be able to find them and want to share them in the comments, I would appreciate that. If you are someone who has experienced anything similar to what Aslar has experienced, what do you think of her perspective that she gave earlier in the song? What do you think of the song? Even if you're not, if you're like me and you've never been an immigrant or a refugee or ever had to really like transition from one place to another place in a very big way because of some sort of trauma from where you're from, like it, even if you're like me and you've never experienced that, what does the song make you think of? Is there something you can relate to? I personally cannot. I cannot. I have been, I guess you could say fortunate, depending on your perspective, fortunate enough to be able to basically stay in one place most of my life. I've traveled. I've gone around Texas, but I've basically stayed in Texas most of my life. And that's just, Texas is a big place. There's a lot of places in Texas, but still, I've basically just stayed here in Texas basically my whole life. So I don't know what that's like. And I don't know what it's like to have to be a refugee from a place. I don't know what that feels like. So I don't know how to fully empathize with that or sympathize with it rather than empathize. But it sounds interesting. The idea of searching for a home. It sounds tragic. It sounds traumatizing. It sounds like it could be empowering in the end, but that sounds rough. Okay, I can't sugarcoat it. This sounds rough. That just sounds rough, and I can't imagine the trouble she has been through. And I'm glad she feels a sense of home in Brooklyn and where she is now. I think that's really wonderful for her. I think I have yapped on enough. Thank you everyone who's made it this far in the video. It was a bit of a long one, but it was a bit of a long video to watch. So here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and end my video here. If you want to check out more of us, Lara and the Nubatones, I think you can find their topic channel here on YouTube. I found it earlier. They don't seem to have another channel just for them, but you can find us Lara's direct channel as the second link in my description. That first one will take you to the video we watched on Sofar Sounds channel. Shout out to them for providing this live performance. I'm going to go ahead and end my video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.